Dave is a guy I will never talk about publicly because it's just fucking private. It's like, did you see that that George Harrison documentary?
Yes.
And Paul McCartney. This really like crystallized it for me. He's talking about. He's basically Paul McCartney's trying to say George got a lot of pussy, and he goes, well, you don't want to say it because he goes, that's me, mate. And that was just like, okay, that's how I feel at this point. It's just like, that's me, mate. Guy did more for me personally than anyone in my life. Like literally, when people go like, people in showbiz want to get discovered, and like I was sitting at the Schwab's counter, and then someone said, "You're going to be on." That's what Dave did for me. Is about as close as you can come to that. Is like
look at the games on that Dame Brennan.
Exactly. No, exactly. Like going.
How'd you like to come right for me in comedy and
like,
show
we were
business?
Friends. We hung out. We had a shared sensibility, but ultimately he had a lot of power and influence and leveraged it to get me Half Baked, get me Chappelle Show, and I've been able, and I'd done a little shit before that, but ultimately all of it goes back to him. So I'm not saying I'm here protecting him in any way. I'm just saying
he's your mate.
I'm just saying that's my mate, and I've talked about it a little bit in the past, and the more time goes on, it just feels icky to me now. It's like big as massive problems as I may have with Dave. That's fucking there. We were friends for a reason, and we have a thing. You know what I mean? Like we have a fucking connection that I can have huge problems with him. I still like him better than 99% of human beings in terms of just like what I respect about people. I've got huge problems with him, but beyond that, I've got huge regard for him.
You can speak in that shorthand that only the two of you understand.
Yeah,
like Lennon and
literally
McCartney
in a way that like
you sit across from each other. You start tapping Blackbird. He knows what you're playing.
Yeah, yeah. And people that have seen it were like, I remember before we even did the show, I had an agent who saw me and Dave like sitting. Mos Def was doing a show on Broadway, and we were in his dressing room. And the agent came in and she goes, "There's something about you and Dave." Like, what do you mean? She's like, "There's just something. I don't know. Like, there's just a weird thing." This is before the show. Like, that so that's one of those things. It's like, I have huge problems with him. Huge problems. I'm probably not going to write a memoir about it. Right. I'm probably not going to, like, the other thing is, if
you had a pie wedge chart of your problems with Dave, would the majority of the color in that chart be because of the ending of the Chappelle Show, or would it be the opposite of what people think? Like, that's only like a tiny part of it.
No, my problems are that.
Call me and tell me you're on your way to Africa. Don't call me from Africa.
And the idea that I was somehow,
I'm your guy.
Victim. Yeah, like,
I want to be your mate too.
Like, on Oprah, him saying like, Neal's never called me. Motherfucker, we were doing a show and you went to Africa. What, you owe me a call. It's not like the math on it isn't that complicated to me. But that's just a thing, like, that's how he sees it, and that it goes to you. It's like the pushing I'm not mad at you for pushing me down. I'm not mad at you anyway, but I'm not mad at you for pushing me down in the snow. That's why I'm wondering, like, what is it in you that would make you so relentless and want to push another person down in the snow?
I thought of another answer.
Go.
Psychosis. Just actual.
Yeah.
Not well.
Yeah. No, and that's a fine answer.
There was no, like, someone removed a Jenga sliver in me that I needed filled. There was no hole. Like, where light wasn't getting in, so I filled it with booze and religion. I was just a dick, and I thought it'd be funny to throw you into the trash.
No, yeah.
So which is psychotic.
And that's why I was wondering, like, what is it? And that's so I guess I would say that as that's a symptom of a problem.
You can buy tasers on Amazon if you go through jmohr.com.
Yeah, exactly. What's the code? Oh, you just have to go through your site. No, but that's the thing. That's a symptom of a illness. Illness is a big word, but it is an illness. So in your case, it's an illness. The going to Africa is a symptom of a bigger dynamic.
There's something in him. I see.
Yeah, between me and Dave, and that's the problem that I have with him. And
so you have the same questions that the listeners have. Many of the same questions.
Yes,
and you would like to, like, how? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Come back.
And that's and
Let's just do
it
one more
also
year.
goes to that thing of personality dynamics of we had one kind of relationship where it's like it's that fucking show him the karate Elvis, and then I start directing and it like showing real contribution, and I think that sort of changes the dynamic where it becomes less amicable in that way.
But if it was the Jay show,
right,
and the $50 million number came across the table after season 2, and let's say you're on Oprah saying, I created the Jay show. If it wasn't for me, Jay would be in the gutter. I'm going to go, that's adorable, Neal. Let's get this $50 million.
Oh, right. Yeah, but here's the other thing I learned.
There's no confluence of events.
Right. Here's the other thing I learned is that I think the thing that I don't think people know what they're going to do in a situation until they're in a situation. I think you have all these high-minded opinions of yourself, and like most people think they've done studies where people thought they were going to do the right thing. They see someone else do the wrong thing, and they go, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't do that. Then they put the person in the situation, and the person does the same thing, the wrong thing. It's just a lot of human behavior is just situational. So as much as I can say, like, if I was, and because that's the great thing about Dave is he becomes this Rorschach test where everyone looks at him and goes, fucking, if I had, it's like, look, man, if you had his talent, you wouldn't, it's like, the reason he went to Africa is because that's how his brain is fucking scrambled.
He's obviously different than us.
Yeah, he's just a different kind of guy.
I just realized something that I'm embarrassed. I just realized he probably had a few million under his belt. It wasn't like he was laying tile.
As he says,
in
that he
Ontario.
had 10 in the bank. He goes, how can you walk away from 50? I had 10 in the bank.
That makes it a lot more palatable to walk away from $50 million. It's not like he's laying tile in Fontana, California.
No, exactly.
Going like, fuck $50 million. Shove it up your ass.
He's got $10 million, and if
I'm
you
going
do
to
the math
Riverside.
on a 1,000-seat theater.
And if Neal wants to call me, he can find me in Riverside.
Yeah, and again, he's a folk hero, so he can do a show. You know, he announces shows in Oakland. I did shows with him in Oakland, and he announced them that day, and they sell out in an hour.
He just didn't fucking feel like it anymore.
Yeah, that's part of it.
I guess what we're getting from this conversation is it will never not be an ellipses to that story. It'll always be
it's
dot,
like
dot. It's never going to be this is what happened.
Yes, and my take on it now is that's my mate, and all of the venom that I had in perspective I was well within my rights to have that venom.
Yeah.
But the longer shit goes on, I'm like, you know what? It's like Seinfeld said. I think this applies to you and me. You can't make new old friends. It's like there's something about fucking knowing someone a long time ago and seeing them go through shit and experiencing shit together. That it's like, you know, particularly when you get in your fucking 30s. It's fucking hard to make friends with adults.
Yeah, it's hard.
As a dude, it's fucking like you don't. So that period of your life between 18 and 25, you make a lot of good friends. And as, again, like I said, huge problems. Huge problems. But in the balance, it's a net positive. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I'm proud of the show. I like the show. I would have loved it if I didn't work on it. I felt about the show the way I felt about Jackass, where I saw it and I was like, I gotta go volunteer or something.
Yeah.
I can't believe that the show is on.
A snake just bit that man's dick.
Yeah, like literally.
And they filmed it.
When I saw Jackass,
they lit it.
Yes,
then they filmed it. Then they did a snake.
They ordered a snake 3 days ahead of time. They went through snake pictures.
Could you make your dick look like a mouse to make the snake bite it more often? Yes, I can do that.
That's the thing. Is like,
when I saw Jackass,
I wanted to walk across the country. Just go like, what do you guys need? What do you need me to do? This is and that's what Chappelle Show. It's like, that's how I feel about the show. So I'm glad. I wish we had done more of them. You know, but you also realize, like, with a lot of creativity is just this ethereal thing.
Yeah.
That it just existed, and then it got popular, and there was money involved, and there was animosity, and there was all this shit, and then the energy that existed in the vacuum, once you open up the door to let in money, all the people, handlers, people that want to get close to him, so they'll use you as a peg. Then you just goes like, oh, all right, and then he's in a situation where he would have to stick up for me, and at that point it's like just the idea of he's been poisoned by other people,
and that's embarrassing to you.
Yeah. He's been poisoned by other people, and it's kind of like, well, why not just say I can't do the show without Neal so I can get some money? Because these motherfuckers had said that and it's like, dude, fuck, these people didn't write a fucking word. Right. These people, I don't remember seeing any of these people in editing ever. I never saw them on set. So once that energy it's
compromised.
Yeah, and I'm real sensitive to bands and like the dynamics and the thing that makes things. REM split all their publishing equally, and that's part of the reason they were able to stay together. Beastie Boys split it up. These are just the bands I know. It's the bands that don't last as long are ones where the singer makes all the money. He doesn't, it's like, and again, I'm not saying that was Chappelle Show. I'm just saying there's something to the spirit, the business spirit of the enterprise is very connected to the actual spirit of the show. And one of Dave's handlers at one point goes like, when we were negotiating, it never occurred to me that you and Dave were going to be stuck in a room together when this was all over. It's like, yeah.
After you've
trashed me to him to make yourself look good, and he's got all this heat on him all the time, so he doesn't know who the fuck to believe about anything.
At some point, you got to hand a piece of paper across the desk and go, "This is the time code for the last." You have to do. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's like, dude. So
I could have made it a lot easier.
Yeah, no. It's
at some point, you have to hand a sketch across the desk and go, "What do you think?"
No one wants to say,
"Hey, what do you think?
Neal's really important. We should take care of him." Because then that makes that Dave could interpret that as like, oh, you think I'm not important, and no one wants to say, and everyone goes, fuck Neal, and Dave's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, sort of like, what did he say? Then they just make shit up that I said. So then he goes, did he say what?
It's almost like you guys were living in like a message board, culture, before message boards, It was like, well, he said this, and this guy, and I retweeted something. Yeah, but that's not how it went.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's and there's just a ton of money and people trying to wedge themselves in for power. And so you go, all right, well, once that happens, it broke my heart beyond like anything I've ever experienced. But I get it in that regard. Like, I get it. It's like, yeah, I'm sure that wasn't easy for him either.
By the way, which one's pink?
Exactly. No, exactly. And so it's like, hey, fucking, and then you end up you resent your fucking best friend because you're successful together. And people make it like, so people want to seem loyal, so they'll slam this other person to get between. Because again, Mooney said to me one time, he's like, I used to get it with Richard. People hated, I had the prince's ear. I had the king's ear, homie. And people did not like that. And it's like,
it's a great Mooney impression.
Thank you. And
tap dancing pancakes.
So people think it's just one of these unfortunate things of come with success. What I would suggest people that are popular, whenever people are in a team, like the Lonely Island, Sandberg and those guys, I'm always like, I always make them like, fucking be good to that dude. Like, Yorma, you be good. You appreciate Andy. Andy, you appreciate Akiva. And it's like, cause it's important. We're all fucking need attention. So we're all attention junkies in show business. So when they go like, open the door, and it's just fucking a free for all, and people are fucking throwing haymakers and shit. And it's like, dude, I just want you just have to protect the integrity of the team, the partnership, and it goes with basketball teams, it goes with football.
Like a garage band. Like, just don't forget you were a bunch of guys in a fucking garage.
Yes. Yeah, and with me and David, we were never quite in the garage because I was by the time I met you guys, you were funny and regionally popular, regionally being the Village. But
right, but Genesis had to bring Phil Collins in to take it to the other level.
Right. Yeah. But again, I would never say
it's the faggiest fucking reference of all time. Genesis.
Faggot.
I couldn't pick any other band. Genesis.
Yes, but again,
the whitest group of men ever. Invisible touch.
Yeah, and also maybe not wanting to be in a team and all that. It's like, just like a lot of dynamics,
Got any gigs coming up?
George got a lot of pussy, and he goes, well, you don't want to say it because he goes, that's me mate. And that was just like, okay, that's how I feel at this point. It's just like, that's me mate. Guy did more for me personally than anyone in my life. Like literally, when people go like sensibility, but ultimately he had a lot of power and influence and leveraged it to get me Half Baked, get me Chappelle Show, and I'd done a little shit before that, but ultimately all of it goes back to him. So I'm not saying I'm here protecting him in any way. I'm just saying
he's your mate.
Just saying people in showbiz want to get discovered. And like I was sitting at the Schwab's counter, and someone said, "You're going to be on." That's what Dave did for me. Is about as close as you can come to that. Is like
look at the games on that Dame Brennan.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Like going.
How'd you like to come right for me in comedy and show
business? We were friends. We hung out. We had shared. That's my mate, and I've talked about it a little bit in the past, and the more time goes on, it just feels icky to me now. It's like big as massive problems as I may have with Dave. That's fucking there. We were friends for a reason, and we have a thing. Dave is a guy I will never talk about publicly because it's just fucking private. It's like, did you see that George Harrison documentary?
Yes.
And Paul McCartney. This really like crystallized it for me. He's basically Paul McCartney's trying to say